you are probably one of the smartest people in most rooms you walk into. And that is destroying your life. Not because intelligence is a curse, but because you've been using it wrong, against the wrong people, in the wrong way, for the wrong reasons. There is a man who died over 160 years ago who understood your exact problem better than any therapist, any coach, any self-help book on the shelf today. His name was Arthur Schopenhauer. Philosopher. Recluse. Genius. And he left behind a psychological blueprint so precise, so ruthless, that the most powerful strategists in history used it without ever naming it. Today, I'm going to hand that blueprint to you. But I have to warn you, what you're about to hear is going to contradict everything you were taught about how to handle people who are wrong, people who are irrational, and people who have power over you despite deserving none of it. Stay with me. Because by the end of this video, you will never waste a single minute of mental energy on a fool again. Let me describe a moment you've lived 100 times. You're in a meeting. A family dinner. A group chat. And someone says something, confidently, loudly, that is completely, objectively, embarrassingly wrong. Your brain fires instantly. You see the flaw. You map the argument. You prepare your counterpoint with the precision of a surgeon. You lay it out perfectly. And they stare at you. And blink. And then, double down. You walk away depleted. Frustrated. Questioning your own sanity. Wondering, how is it possible that I am clearly right, and I still feel like I lost? Here's what no one tells you: you fell into the intelligence trap. The intelligence trap is a fatal assumption baked into every smart person's operating system, that other people value truth the same way you do. They don't. Schopenhauer, in his brutally honest text The Art of Being Right, laid down a law of human nature that cuts like a blade. People do not argue to find truth. They argue to establish dominance. That's not pessimism. That's neuroscience. In 2011, psychologist Daniel Kahneman published Thinking, Fast and Slow, one of the most rigorously researched books on human cognition ever written. He identified two systems in the human mind. System 1, fast, emotional, automatic. It runs on feeling. It forms a conclusion in milliseconds. System 2, slow, deliberate, logical. It weighs evidence. It changes its mind. Here is the painful truth: most people arguing with you are operating entirely out of System 1. They already have a conclusion. It's emotional. It's tribal. It's identity-linked. And no amount of System 2 data from you is going to penetrate that fortress. You are not losing arguments because your facts are weak. You are losing because you are playing a chess match against someone who thinks they're playing football. And every time you try to explain yourself to them, you lose energy. They lose nothing. In 1999, psychologists David Dunning and Dunning-Kruger published a landmark study that revealed something genuinely disturbing. The less competent a person is in a given domain, the more confident they are about it. This isn't a quirk. This is a mechanical failure in human self-assessment. The very cognitive tools required to recognize your own incompetence, critical analysis, metacognition, pattern recognition, are the same tools incompetence destroys. In plain language, the fool cannot see that they are a fool. The knowledge required to know what you don't know is the first thing ignorance steals. But here's where it gets darker, and this is what Schopenhauer understood that modern psychology is only now catching up to. Ignorance is not passive. It is not a void. It is an actively defended fortress. When you challenge an ignorant person's belief, you are not triggering their curiosity. You are triggering their threat response. The amygdala fires. Cortisol floods the body. What you said doesn't matter. What matters is that their identity, which is wrapped around that belief, feels under attack. And the human ego will burn the world to the ground before it admits it was wrong. This is why explaining yourself feels like slamming yourself against a wall. The wall is not being stubborn. The wall is doing exactly what walls are designed to do: hold firm. And here's the economic reality of that exchange: you are spending enormous cognitive energy crafting the perfect argument. They are spending zero energy refusing to accept it. They drain you not by outsmarting you, but by outlasting you. So if logic fails, what do? Schopenhauer's answer was not to fight harder. It was to stop fighting entirely, but in the most dangerous way possible. His first weapon, reductio ad absurdum, or what I call the rope method. You don't attack their idea. You agree with it. Enthusiastically. Completely. And then you hand them enough rope to hang it themselves. Here's how it works. A colleague insists that anyone could be a successful day trader if they just paid attention to charts. The instinct of an intelligent person? Pull out data on failure rates. Cite academic studies on market efficiency. Explain survivorship bias. Stop. That's the trap. Instead, lean in. Nod slowly. Say, you know what, you're absolutely right. The math checks out. We should quit our jobs this Friday. You handle the charts, I'll manage the capital allocation. We'll be free in 6 months. Why are we even sitting here? Watch their face. You haven't attacked them. You haven't said they're wrong. You've taken their premise and accelerated it to its natural destination. And when the fool is forced to look at where their own logic leads, when they see the cliff's edge, their brain short-circuits. They have to backpedal. They have to inject nuance. They suddenly start arguing against the very point they were defending, to save face. You didn't defeat their argument. You made their argument defeat itself. Schopenhauer used this mercilessly against academic rivals he considered fraudulent. He didn't dignify bad ideas with counterarguments. He amplified them until their absurdity became visible to everyone in the room, except, beautifully, the person being amplified. The critical upgrade: you must kill the part of you that wants credit for this. Because the fool won't know what happened. They'll think they arrived at the new position themselves. That's fine. That's the point. You're not playing for applause. You're playing for outcomes. Now let's talk about daily life. Because not every interaction is a debate you can redirect. Sometimes the fool is your manager. Your in-law. Your neighbor. Your client. You can't always exit the conversation. But you can exit the exchange without them knowing. Schopenhauer described what I call the avatar protocol. When you are forced to interact with someone who cannot be reasoned with, you do not bring your authentic self to the table. You bring an avatar, a polished, pleasant, entirely hollow representative of you. The avatar smiles. The avatar says, "Interesting perspective." The avatar says, "I see what you mean." The avatar says, "That's one way to look at it." The avatar gives them nothing to attack. It's a mirror. It reflects their noise back at them, leaving them satisfied, while your actual mind remains untouched behind a wall of strategic detachment. This isn't dishonesty. It's what Schopenhauer called the rational management of irrational environments. He developed the famous porcupine dilemma to explain the necessary distance between intelligent people and the social world. On a cold winter night, porcupines huddle together for warmth. But their quills draw blood. So they find the minimum safe distance, close enough to survive, far enough to not bleed. You don't have to disappear from society. You have to find your minimum safe distance, and maintain it without guilt. And that guilt? The conditioning that tells you this is arrogant, manipulative, cold? That guilt is precisely why you've been suffering. You've been treating intellectual hazards like fragile victims. You've been bleeding to keep someone else warm. Stop. Now we enter the most treacherous terrain. What happens when the fool has authority over you? What happens when the irrational mind signs your paycheck, controls your promotion, or runs the organization you depend on? This is where most intelligent people make a catastrophic mistake. They try to demonstrate their superiority. They present the better idea in the meeting. They correct the error in the report. They assume competence is visible. It isn't. Not to the person who can't measure it. Schopenhauer warned explicitly. To display conspicuous intelligence or outstanding qualities in the presence of mediocrity is an unpardonable sin. Why? Because a person of low intellect who has acquired power is not confident. They are terrified. Somewhere in their mind, beneath the bluster and the authority, they sense they are outmatched. They cannot articulate it. But they feel it. And a frightened animal with a crown does not respond to intellectual superiority with respect. They respond with elimination. They won't call you too smart. They'll call you difficult. Not a team player. Hard to work with. And they will use the full bureaucracy of the system to remove you, slowly, plausibly, deniably. To survive this, history's most dangerous minds employed a different weapon entirely: strategic submission. Look at Sima Yi, military genius, political survivor, and arguably the most patient strategist in the history of the Three Kingdoms period of ancient China. Sima Yi served under Cao Shuang, a region of massive power and astonishing mediocrity. Cao Shuang feared him. And in that court, a feared rival was a dead one. So Sima Yi did something that required more discipline than any battle he ever fought: he pretended to break. He feigned illness. He feigned senility. When the regent's spies arrived to assess the threat, they found a trembling old man who couldn't hold his soup bowl, who confused names, who seemed already half dead. They reported back, "Sima Yi is no longer a danger." The regent relaxed. He lowered his defenses. He stopped watching. Months later, while Cao Shuang was away on a hunting expedition, Sima Yi rose from his sickbed, executed a precise military coup, and seized control of the empire. Cao Shuang lost his head because he believed the performance. Here is what you must absorb from this: your intelligence is not a badge. It is a concealed weapon. You do not draw a concealed weapon to show off. You keep it hidden until the exact moment the outcome requires it. In practical terms, when dealing with a powerful fool, ask them for advice on minor decisions. It feeds their ego. Let them correct you on irrelevant details. It confirms their dominance. Thank them for insights you didn't need. It anesthetizes them. You are not submitting. You are anesthetizing. You are injecting their ego with a narcotic so potent they fall asleep at the wheel, leaving you free to move. Here's the transformation Schopenhauer spent his entire career pointing toward, and that almost no one reaches. The transition from intelligence to power. Intelligence is knowing you are right. Power is not needing them to know it. Intelligence is winning the argument. Power is achieving the objective while they believe they won the argument. This is the mindset of the architect navigating a world of toddlers. The architect does not explain load-bearing mathematics to a toddler. They hand the toddler a toy, and pour the concrete while the toddler is distracted. Not cruel. Accurate. When you know that people are driven by ego, you steer with ego. When you know they are immune to logic, you navigate through emotion. When you know they hunger for validation, you feed them just enough to keep them cooperative. You become the invisible hand. They believe they're making the decisions. They believe they're in control. But every choice they make is within parameters you silently constructed. The genuinely powerful mind does not announce itself. It arranges. This is not manipulation in the sinister sense. This is the highest level form of social intelligence, an understanding of human nature so deep you can operate within it rather than being swept away by it. You clicked on this video because you were exhausted. Not because you aren't smart enough. Because you were being smart in the wrong direction, spending your rarest resource, your mental energy, on people constitutionally unable to use it. Schopenhauer's gift is not bitterness. It is clarity. When you stop trying to change people who cannot change, the weight lifts. When you stop requiring fools to validate your reality, you become unshakable. When you understand that your intelligence is a concealed weapon, not a public demonstration, you become dangerous in the best possible way. The lion does not lose sleep over the opinions of sheep. And the architect doesn't weep when the demolition crew calls his blueprints confusing. Keep your mind sharp. Keep it quiet. And use it only when it serves your ascent. If this hit you somewhere real, subscribe. Share it with one person who needs it. And drop in the comments, what's the situation in your life right now where this applies? I read everything.